When you or your spouse are ready to seriously accumulate quality pieces of jewelry, do not pay retail for new jewelry at brand name establishments who advertise in newspapers, magazines, and on television. You will be paying for that advertising as well as a premium retail overhead when you buy the ring, necklace, earrings, or pendant. If you feel compelled to ignore this advice, then please go to Tiffany's and purchase something simple and platinum that's within your budget. If you're not going to inherit pieces of jewelry, which is always preferable, seek out reputable family-owned dealers in small shops who sell antique and estate jewelry in your area, or in an affluent area near you. You may want to investigate auctions being conducted in your area, a topic which is covered further in this series. You will get much more for your money by buying estate pieces than buying new at retail.
Hello ladies, welcome to my channel. All over the month of February and a bit of March, we've been talking all about old money and the values of old money. And in today's video, we are going to talk all about jewelry. So if you are new here, my name is Nicole. I've been on a little bit of a level up journey this last a bit more than a year. And with that, I've really noticed that you can't level up without money. There are things that you can do that maybe with your behavior that won't cost money, but you do need money. It is a massive component to it. So if you like the sounds of learning how we can level up without money and how we can level up with money in a more efficient and strategic and sensible way, I'd be so honored if you press subscribe and join this little community. And also like this video if this is the type of topic that you enjoy. So with that, let's talk more about jewelry. So again, if you observe people that come from old money families, you'll often notice that they are not flashy with their jewelry. Less is definitely more. The other thing that I've noticed with old money families and old money women in particular, they have a lot of the classic jewelry that becomes a staple in their wardrobe. So things like freshwater pearls, things like a wedding band. And when my husband and I were when my husband and I were getting married, originally I thought that I just wanted a solid plain gold band, because I noticed that a lot of the women that I admired and a lot of the women that I looked at as classy, their actual wedding band wasn't encrusted with diamonds. Now I know that this is totally going to be subjective to our personal taste, and to be honest with you, when I went and got my wedding rings, which I'll be inserting footage because we actually got to go meet the designer who helped us make our wedding rings and we got to contribute to that. When I got there, she had rings for us to try on. And when I tried the plain, simple band, I realized I actually did not want something that plain. But with saying that, my ring is still very, very modest. And that brings me to the next point of what I'm learning in this book all about old money. And it is that jewelry should have a memory associated with it. And just like it takes time to cultivate memories, it should also take time to cultivate jewelry. And the biggest takeaway that I've taken away and learned in this chapter of the book is that often when you have a piece of jewelry that is associated with a memory and it has a story to go along with it, if someone ever asks you about it, instead of talking about the carat and the style and the cut and the cost, you can tell the story of the jewelry, which is so much more refined, it's so much more classy, and that goes so much further. And it speaks to the integrity of the person as opposed to being tactless, talking about the cut, the size, the clarity. Do you have a watch? I think it's very easy to see old money families and think, oh my gosh, there's their Cartier watch, there's their Rolex, etc. However, if you can invest in these things, I do think that you never hear of a Cartier watch going down in value, you never hear of a Rolex watch going down in value, and although I don't own either of those yet, it is something that is recommended in this book. And It's not necessarily something to be showy, but it's more or less to invest in something that is going to appreciate in time as opposed to depreciate in time. And both of those brands have classic models that will go with anything always. Now, if you're like myself and not necessarily at a life point where you can go purchase one of these from the store, they do recommend in the book to go to secondhand stores, antique stores, thrift shops, etc. You go to places where it is verified and you can get the certificate to go along with it as well. And that's a way that you can save some money on these items. One of the other things that I think we can consider when it comes to jewelry, there are tons of pawn shops, antique shops, secondhand stores where you can buy pieces of jewelry and you can melt them down. I know so many people back in Canada, friends of mine, who they have pieces of jewelry, or maybe it was passed down to them, but it was a little bit out of style or not to their taste. And they ended up getting these pieces of jewelry reduced and making something that was a bit more to their taste. And so I don't think that you always have to think that you're going into a jewelry store in order to purchase jewelry. So do be free to think outside of the box on this one.
When you have been very successful and you begin to consider high quality watches for you or your spouse, keep the best company. The short list of watch brands which can be purchased, used, and which hold or increase in value over time includes Rolex, Cartier, Patek Philippe, and more. In keeping with old money philosophy, please have your family's financial future set before investing heavily in jewelry. Purchased correctly and properly maintained, these timepieces can be worn with pleasure, then handed down to the next generation.
I've mentioned this in a few videos now. My husband and I are thinking about making it a little bit of a ritual for Valentine's Day to get a piece of jewelry and add it to our collection. We think that this is a way that we can plan for it in advance, start putting the savings aside for it in advance, and make sure that it's a well thought out purchase. Equally, I think that it's a way that we can really have some sentiment, have a memory attached to it, and then these things can be passed down generation to generation. These things are investment pieces. They're not necessarily something that you just go off on a whim and pick it up. And jewelry also isn't always that expensive anymore. My husband and I have definitely been looking around to see what is out there, and we've realized that you can start investing and adding pieces to your jewelry that are affordable. And it's interesting because diamonds aren't that rare. Obviously, if you're spending a lot on your jewelry, then yes, you might not have the budget for that, but there are ways that you can start introducing pieces to your collection quite sustainably. Anyways, my friends, that is it for this video all about jewelry. In the next video, we will be talking more about old money, but specifically about dictation and grammar. I hope you'll join me.